High in remote mountains, miners extract rare lapis lazuli, the ancient stone holding the secret to ultramarine blue. Through crushing, washing, and purification, the stone's blue essence is released, forming the world's most precious pigment.
Finally refined, ultramarine becomes a brilliant pigment, inspiring artists and shaping masterpieces across centuries.
In the remote mountains of Afghanistan, miners enter ancient tunnels where lapis lazuli has been extracted for thousands of years. With hand tools and steady precision, workers chip away stone, revealing the rare blue veins hidden deep within the rock. Only the stones with the deepest blue are chosen, separated carefully from pale or heavily veined material. The selected stones are washed to remove dust and surface impurities, preparing them for the grinding and purification ahead. Once cleaned, the lapis is loaded and transported to artisan workshops, where the transformation into ultramarine truly begins.
The cleaned lapis is cracked into smaller pieces, preparing it for the first grinding stage. With repeated grinding, the powder becomes finer, unlocking the ultramarine hidden inside. Magnets and sieves remove metallic particles, ensuring only clean, pure pigment remains for the next stage. The powder is washed, allowing lighter impurities to rise while dense blue particles begin to sink to the bottom.
Powder is kneaded with wax, resins, and oils, beginning the classic ultramarine purification method.
When kneaded underwater, pure blue pigment escapes, while the wax and resin trap the remaining impurities. The released pigment is gathered carefully, preserving its intensity as a layer of pure ultramarine settles at the bottom.
Multiple purification cycles refine the pigment further, strengthening its vivid ultramarine glow. With impurities removed, the pure ultramarine pigment is shaped and prepared for drying and advanced refinement. The purified slurry is poured into settling pots, allowing the ultramarine pigment to separate naturally over time. As the mixture rests, the ultramarine particles sink slowly, forming a dense layer of pure pigment at the bottom. Each layer is removed carefully, beginning with the weakest blues, until only the richest ultramarine remains at the bottom. The deepest and most vibrant layer is carefully lifted, revealing the pure ultramarine that gives the pigment its legendary value. The pigment is rinsed again, clearing away the final traces of residue and revealing its true ultramarine purity.
Warm water softens the remaining resin, separating it from the pigment and leaving behind only the pure ultramarine.
What remains is a thick, pure ultramarine slurry, dense, clean, and ready for the rigorous refining steps ahead.
The pigment is transferred into shallow purification trays, allowing even finer separation during the next settling stage. In shallow trays, the pigment settles into thin, even layers, helping separate the purest ultramarine particles from the rest.
Gentle agitation lifts the remaining light impurities upward, allowing the ultramarine beneath to settle even more cleanly.
Fine sieves catch the smallest mineral traces, ensuring the pigment becomes ever more refined and pure.
Warm sunlight or a gentle kiln heat evaporates excess moisture, further clarifying the pigment as it begins to solidify. Workers inspect the pigment's drying color, comparing shades to ensure each batch reaches the ideal ultramarine intensity.
Through repeated washing cycles, the pigment becomes even purer, each rinse removing the faintest remaining impurities. From the fully purified mixture, the deepest and richest ultramarine layer is separated, reserved for only the highest grade pigment. The refined pigment is spread onto flat drying boards, forming a smooth layer that will eventually harden into solid ultramarine.
As the pigment dries, natural surface cracks appear, releasing the last traces of moisture and preparing the ultramarine for solidification.
As the pigment dries, natural surface cracks appear, releasing the last traces of moisture and preparing the ultramarine for solidification.
The pigment chunks are crushed on a traditional stone slab, breaking them into a coarse powder that begins the grinding process.
A second fine grinding smooths the pigment even further, transforming coarse grains into a uniform, high-quality ultramarine powder.
A final micro-milling stage refines the pigment into an ultra-fine powder, perfect in texture and ready for artistic use.
A fine sieve guarantees a perfectly consistent pigment, allowing only the smoothest particles to pass through for the final blend.
Natural binders are added to the refined pigment, beginning its transformation from pure powder into usable ultramarine paint.
Different binders create different paints. The ultramarine paste is adjusted for oil, watercolor, or tempera, each with its own texture and brilliance.
Once the paint is prepared, it's carefully packed into jars and tubes, preserving the ultramarine's purity and brilliance. Each container is labeled by hand and marked for authenticity, ensuring the pigment's origin and quality are preserved.
After meticulous refining and handcrafting, the ultramarine pigment stands ready, pure, vibrant, and from raw stone to refined brilliance, Every step leads to this moment, the creation of the world's most precious blue.
Crafted by dedicated hands, this ultramarine carries the spirit of tradition with every grain of color. This is ultramarine, pure, eternal, and ready to inspire the artists of tomorrow.